Welcome, everyone, to episode 118 of the Greg's World podcast. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, which probably about 90% of you are, you may or may not know that the last episode, 117, was audio only. And in that episode, if you listen to it, I had some very good reasons why I didn't necessarily want these episodes to be on YouTube. And I felt good in that decision. That wasn't until something happened this week that was just by coincidence that completely changed my mind. And that was, I happened to be looking at my gaming channel and I went back and watched one of our random streams from 2020. Clark and I were playing Farming Simulator 17. And as soon as I started listening to it, I heard the cute little voice of a 5-year-old Clark man. And I heard us having this great time together. And it was so special. But there was something that was missing from it that made me very sad wasn't there. And that was a face cam, the ability to see us, to see what we looked like, to see who we were in that time and in that moment, and what we were dressed like, all of those things. It was completely gone. It wasn't there. It was just the audio of us. And I was like, you know what? I'm making this same mistake on my podcast. While right now, it may not be interesting for me or probably for you to watch this, someday, after all of these weeks and all these episodes that I've made of this, I feel like a much older future Greg may want to look back and see what Greg's World Podcast episode 118 Greg looked like. What was he wearing that day? What anything? And what does it hurt? Like there are reasons to not have this on YouTube, but my thoughts are, who cares? This channel has always been about me doing exactly what I want. In fact, I guess that's my entire life at this point on YouTube and just in general. It's like, what do I really feel passionate and called to do? If that's a thing, that's what I do, and people enjoy it. And people that don't, they leave, and that's totally fine. If the YouTube algorithm doesn't like it, that's totally fine. I don't think we're going to be going hungry or homeless anytime soon. I think we're going to be okay. So after taking a week off and not having any record of it last week, like I recorded last week's episode, I didn't even turn my camera on. It was just a black screen, so I've got nothing for that. But now this episode, we're back. Just like it's always been. Same background, different messes, moving around. If you're listening to it, my place is very tidy. There are no Lego boxes sitting anywhere. Everything is perfect, and I want that to be known. See, you can't lie to people when they can see you. You can be like, I am just like so darn handsome today. Just incredible. The ladies are swooning. No, none of that's happening. But I am here making a podcast episode, and I'm excited to be back with you. Getting these back on schedule for Sundays. I'm still thinking about doing bonus episodes out on the podcast land. So if you do want to listen to this in an audio format, if that's your thing, if that's your jam, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, links are down below if you want to go over and check it out. If that's, you want to take me on the go with you, you don't want to use your data, it's a great way to do that. So we're back to the usual things, and this week I just want to talk about some things that were on my heart and on my mind, including a moment that I had. And I don't know if anyone ever has these moments, but I do on occasion, especially having as much many blessings, I guess, as I have in life, professionally and personally. I mean, I consider myself a pretty lucky person, but I also consider myself a person that's worked very hard to acquire their dreams and turn them into reality with a lot of luck attached to it. We could debate about this back and forth, but I do think there's some luck involved in pretty much anyone's life, but you have to show up, and showing up is 90% of the battle. I want to talk about moments of total appreciation. Have you ever had a moment of total appreciation where you just sat down, or maybe you were doing something, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that I can do this, or I'm doing this, or I'm here, or whatever the case is. Maybe you had that when you were at Disney World, for example, or whatever the case is. I had this moment this week. It was just 2 days ago, I believe. Or was it yesterday? It may have been yesterday. I don't remember the date, but I remember the moment vividly. I had an idea to make a video about a robot, a Lego robot that Clark and I bought weeks before. And when Clark was getting ready for school that day, I'm like, I'm going to do this today, right? And when Clark went to school, I came downstairs. I got my camera, all my equipment ready. I shot the video, I edited it, and then I uploaded it. And in that process, I thought about how amazing it is. And I talked briefly about this in the video when I did it, but I want to say more. When I edited it, I'm like, Greg, why didn't you say more? And I was like, oh, you have a podcast where you can go in depth about such things. I was just thinking how crazy it is that we live in a time where I can take an idea that's in my head, something that doesn't exist anywhere. It's not even a real thing. And within just a matter of minutes or hours, depending on how long or I guess in depth it is, I can take that idea, turning it into something very real, and then share that with the world from my little basement in Pennsylvania, and thousands of people will consume that and get some type of entertainment, enjoyment, education, inspiration. They'll get something from that thing that was prior to that, not even existence and just in my head, through digital means. I didn't create a physical thing, although I sort of did when you consider that I built something. But ultimately, the product that I was focusing on is something that's digital, but it feels just as real as something that is physical or real. And I couldn't get that out of my brain. I just kept thinking about like how crazy it is that you can just materialize this. And not only that, like I materialize this thing that people enjoy, but then that turns into revenue for this business and money that my family then uses for things that we need. And it all comes from just like something that was in my brain, something that had I not thought of or had the ambition or the drive to show up and get lucky, it would have never happened. And I think about how much could I take this to the next level? How many times a day can I do this thing where I constantly am making or creating or turning things into reality, turning nothing into something? What can I do that? I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to just sit around and do nothing every day. And that's kind of what I've been doing. In fact, this is kind of tie into a little bit of a follow-up from last week. I talked at length last week about how I've been loving and also hating live streaming at the same time with some experiences that I had. And I have to say, ever since that episode, or even slightly before that, all of my gaming streams that I've been doing have been awesome. They've been a lot of fun. The right people are there at the right time. We have some great interaction. I've been playing some really fun games. I won't get into that here, but if you want to check out my gaming channel, Greg's Arcade, link down below as well. I stream games, do highlight videos there and stuff, which we'll talk a little bit about that here in my my ideas of the week segment, which apparently is a thing now. But I've been having a blast, and I even started doing this new thing where I had this old live streaming channel called, I'm not going to tell you what it's called because I don't want you to show up there. I don't want you there. And you're going to say like, well, Greg, why can't I be there? And I'll tell you why. I had this old streaming channel where I used to do streams there all the time in my past life. And I still wanted to stream, but I don't want it like polluting my Lego channel because, you know, I already do videos there like almost every day, and the streams kind of get convoluted and into that mix, and a lot of people don't want the streams, and it's like there's just too much. So for the same reason that I made this channel back in the day, I thought, hey, I think I'm going to start putting stuff out there again. And this week, for 3 days in a row, in fact, I just got done doing my third stream this week there, has been incredible. It's been some of the best conversations that I've had in live streaming. And it's awesome because it's small. And this is going to sound like definite first world problems, but there's never really been a time when I've streamed to a small audience. When I started live streaming on my Lego channel, I already had an established group of people, and whenever I started, it was like already there. And I've always envied people that just have a few people in the chat that they can like go back and forth with and discuss with. And I realized like what I really like about these streams that I'm doing in the afternoons each day is that it feels like an intimate gathering. There's no like, it's like adult conversation. It's people that have been around for a very long time. So I'm very like, we're like vibing off of old memories and stuff like that. And it's just good. It's a good experience for me. And I realized what makes things bad. And it's too many people. Too many people ruin everything. Whether it be your live stream, whether it be you going to a national park to see the views, going to Disney World, for example, having too many people somewhere is always bad. And I kind of feel the same way about these streams. There's roughly like 20 people there, all of which have been there for a very long time. And I know some of you are listening right now. I find a great way to destroy your channel is to not do anything there for a year or two and just let it kind of die off. In fact, like the channel's hemorrhaging subscribers and has been for a long time, but it's so good. And that's why like I want to talk about it, but I don't want you to come there. I don't want any more people. I want it just the way it is. And it's like a good experience every time, because I find out like when we start getting these numbers up, the chat starts moving pretty fast. All of the kids start flocking in, and you start getting into the conversation that I'm just not interested in having. Like I like having, like, this podcast is basically happening over there. I just did this. I did an hour of just like chatting about stuff before this, and it's been great. And I used to do this series called The Late Night Radio Show that I really love for that reason too, because it was like very late at night. Everyone was in bed. It was just an intimate gathering of just a few people, and we vibed there, and it was so good. And I've wanted to bring that back, but I live this life of a husband who has a son and a wife, and we have to maintain like a normal schedule. So the late night radio show is a hard thing to do. But these like afternoon streams where I'm just like hanging out and working on something Lego related while chatting, and that's like the real draw to it. I love it. I really do love it. So I'm hoping that continues. I've committed to these people that I'm going to be there each day working on something, and I hope that it stays what it is. I don't want anything more than that. Like, I'm not doing this for any other reason than just because I enjoy it. There's no financial gain to be had from this. There's nothing. It's just where my passion is, and where my passion is, everything else follows, I've found. So that's what I've been up to. Don't come to find me. I sound like a miserable old man, but I don't know. I just want it just the way it is. I don't think any more, anything less. And I'm just satisfied. And being satisfied is not something that many people ever find in their life. We always want more. We want the next thing, the biggest thing, or the bigger thing, and the new thing. And I talked about that last week. So if you want to go back, if you missed last week's episode because it's not on YouTube anywhere, just go back and listen to it. It's not a very long one, but I think that you'll get something out of it if you listen to it, especially if you're a person that is material based. Especially if you're a person that is a Lego collector. Last episode was actually more Lego than anything else, which is not common for me. Next topic I want to talk about, as we go into like weird stuff. You know, I decided that I don't want this podcast to be a recap of my week where I'm like, okay, so on Monday I dropped Clark off at the bus, and then I went inside and I did dishes, and then I worked on an editing. I don't want that. I don't want you to hear about the monotony that is my life. I want you to hear about various things that I've thought about, ideas that I had, so I can get them out to you in the world and myself, and they don't keep cycling in my head. The next topic I want to talk about is losing memories of dreams. This is definitely something that you've related to. And if you've related to anything here, another benefit of having this on YouTube is that you can leave a comment. We can have some listener feedback, where just putting this out on the podcasting platforms doesn't really allow for that very much. We'll talk about losing memories of dreams. I had a dream this week that was so real and felt so interesting to me. At least in the time I was having this dream, I was so excited to get on to my podcast and share it. In fact, I was like, oh my gosh, this could be a whole episode within itself. And when you know what happened is that once I wake up and I'm like out of that, I can't remember much of any of that dream at all. Is that common for you? Like, do you remember your dreams in great detail? Because all I can remember from this one is that I found this, I was driving out towards Ravensburg Park, where Clark and I sometimes run RC trucks out in the woods. It's a state park. And out towards that way on the left side, there was this blue Volvo station wagon that was like broken down and kind of grown up in weeds and stuff like that, up on like a platform. Why it was up in the air, I have no idea. But I went out and I was kind of looking at this thing, and I found one of my friends named Sam, a childhood friend of mine, living in this Volvo. And I felt compelled to like get him help and like go get him some food and stuff. And I remember us like driving this car somehow, and I don't remember much else other than that. So maybe this is the start of like a movie that I need to write and direct or something, but I don't know. There was like so much to this dream, and I was like, oh wow, that was so weird, so interesting. What does it mean? Like, why am I going out to the woods to find this broken down car with an old friend inside of it? What does this mean in my life, and what is this? Because there has to be some people out there that kind of believe in dreams having some basis in your life or reality, or like there being something that like is tied to it, I guess. Or it could just be completely random, but that's all I remember from that dream. I just thought it would be cool to like bring up the topic of forgotten dreams. And I also thought at the time how great it would be if I wasn't sleeping beside someone that was also sleeping at the time. If I had just hit the record button on my recorder and like said everything that I remember, like when I woke up in the moment. I think we would have gotten a lot more than what I was able to deliver here to you at this point in time. Not that that story would have made any sense or any difference to you. It's just I want to have it for some reason. I want to share it with the world. I want to get it out. Maybe I can like will this dream to happen again. If anyone has any pro tips on willing dreams into existence, let me know. Speaking of that, I feel like I've watched videos about something called lucid dreaming, I think is what it is, where you can like basically program yourself to dream and then like control your dreams as well. That would be a very cool thing to get into. I don't know if that's like related to hypnosis or what it is, but it'd be pretty neat to learn. Speaking of learning things, as the segues are just popping here. Oh my gosh, just killing it in episode 118. Signed up for this thing called Masterclass by a recommendation from my good friend Felix. He recommended between this and like Skillshare, they're programs that allow you to learn from masters in their field how to do things or to get in the mind state of doing things. And Masterclass is very much that. You pay upfront, I should say, before you get all excited about this, I should tell you the cost. It's $150 for this Masterclass program, which you're entitled to use for a year. And within this app, they have tons of various people that are masters in their fields explaining to you like what it takes to do what they do. It's not a tutorial or anything. Like the one that I'm watching right now is Werner Herzog, who's a famous documentary maker, and he's teaching how to be a filmmaker. And even though I'm not a filmmaker, I don't have any ambitions to be that, I thought, this guy that does this thing very well, which is like making movies or videos and like being a documentary person, I feel like I can learn from that. And I think that the value is absolutely there. Like, how much would you pay? And he's just one of many, many people on there. There's people in there that are in business, into art, into cooking, gardening, you name it. If there's something you're interested in, going to space exploration. I think Ninja, the famous Fortnite gamer, streamer, he's going to have a course on streaming video games here, and I think at the end of this month. Like there's so much there. And while $150 seems like a lot, I'm like, how much would it cost to sit down with Werner Herzog inside a room, me and him, privately, and have him tell me all of his secrets or all of his information that he could possibly give me on what he does pretty much better than almost everyone else in this world. How much would you pay for that? And then to also get this person, as much as you can fit in a year. So I'm using this as like, I'm kind of like, forget YouTube. I'm moving on to like this kind of stuff for my videos, and they're all kind of broken down into like little segments, and I've just enjoyed the heck out of it. So I thought through this podcast series, I'll explain to you the things that I've learned from the people that I've learned them. So if you don't want to spend $150, or if you don't have the time to invest, which I guarantee you do, if you really looked at your schedule and how you spend your time, look at your screen time on your phone and tell me you don't have time. I'll tell you what I've learned. So from Werner, I skipped a few of the things because some of it was like financing your film. There was stuff like that, but some of it was about like how to shoot your film and not going overboard with like preparation and kind of keeping things in the moment. And that's something that I think I could do, like as far as making Lego videos. I really do like the free flow of things and to not have to do a bunch of takes and stuff. So I have a lot to go. Like I'm just at the very, like maybe the middle of it. I will say one time I was watching, Werner has such a soothing voice. He put me right to sleep. I was watching it sitting on the recliner. I'm just like, done. I'm out. So it's definitely worth it. And the fact that you can share it with your family too, like Cody's watching one too about like creative writing, I think like that. I don't know the person's name. Why not? For essentially what it would cost to do Audible, or which is like an audiobook service. I'm in. Other things, I guess I'll kind of move this into other things that I've consumed, like in terms of entertainment. Watched a few films this week. Some films. I watched The Green Knight. Oh my God. This is a movie that I saw a trailer for when me and my buddy were at the movies watching something else. And I was like, this movie looks like a visual masterpiece. Every shot they showed looked like it would be a famous painting somewhere. And I wanted to go see it, but my buddy ended up going to see it, and he told me that it sucked. I was like, oh, shoot. I knew it was going to be a weird one. It's about King Arthur's nephew Gawain and the Green Knight, which is I guess a classic tale that I'd never heard of, but Cody, being an English person, enthusiast, teacher, whatever she is, she knew all about it. And she's like, oh, that's Gawain and the Green Knight, but it's just called The Green Knight. Made by A24 Studios, which they make some really weird artsy movies, and this was definitely that. Cody and I were home together because Clark was home, or Clark went to school, but she was still sick. So she stayed home. Clark is doing better now, by the way, if you're wondering. And we're like, hey, let's watch an R-rated movie because we're adults and we don't have any kids around, you know? So we decided on that. It was only 99 cents to rent on Amazon. So I was like, hey, the worst thing I'm out is $1, you know, in 2 hours of my time. Started watching this movie, and I was just enthralled by it. Encapsulated, is that the word? I need my assistant here. I was just encapsulated. I think I'm making new things up here. By this movie. It was just so interesting, like visually, and all the things that were happening. And I'm not going to spoil any of it. And I'm going to guarantee you that probably almost everyone watching this is not going to like the movie. But it was about like these old, medieval times, and Gawain is tasked with having to go, I guess, basically get killed by the Green Knight after the Green Knight arrives at King Arthur's court. And there's a standoff there, and there was an agreement that whatever Gawain did to this Green Knight, he would get to do back to him in exactly 1 year's time. And when you know it, Gawain sliced the Green Knight's head off. So that was going to be Gawain's fate in the future. So a year passes like pretty quickly, and he goes on this journey to go meet the Green Knight. And I won't say what happens from there, but it was very cool. I can't even tell you like the thing that happened at the end, because if you do watch it, you're not going to want to know that this was happening. So I have to keep it all very vague. But it's beautiful, beautiful film, and the story was cool. It got me interested. It really, like, in fact, I was so like intense watching this that I had to go pick up Clark, man. I didn't even realize it. Like, Cody's like, oh, it's 3:14. I'm like, I gotta go. So I like had to run out of the door, and I got to school just in time to pick him up. But I was like, wow, I didn't want to break that movie up because I liked it so much. God, the hype train. There's a freaking hype train rolling through this space right now. And I have a bad feeling I'm going to convince people to watch that. But I want you to be very aware that you're not going to probably like it. Okay? Not because I'm anything special or like you're not smart enough to figure anything out. It's just very odd. And I think most people want to watch like a Marvel movie, I guess I'll say that. Most people just want to go watch a Marvel movie. This is not a Marvel movie, which is a good thing in some cases. Next movie I watched it's called Pig. Just called Pig. Pig. Starring Nicolas Cage. And the movie Pig is about Nicolas Cage, who's a truffle hunter. Specifically, his pig is a truffle hunter. And they live this life out in the woods, like a secluded life. Haven't been into town for like a decade. Ever since Nicolas Cage's wife died, his life has kind of just been like one of solitude. And every week, this guy comes out and buys the truffles off of him, gives him supplies, and that's how he lives. That is until one time that in the middle of the night, people break into the cabin and knock Nicolas Cage out and steal his pig. And then the rest of the movie is about him trying to get his pig back. And the interesting thing about this movie is that it's not like a revenge movie, like Taken is a revenge movie. It's more of a movie about grief and coming to terms with your grief and family and things like that. So I like that part of it. I won't say that I necessarily liked how it ended, because there was an ending that would be like preferable, I guess, as an animal lover. Which I guess I probably said too much there. I should probably put a spoiler alert before all of this. I like that movie a lot. I don't know. I like those kind of movies. I was between watching that and the movie Ted K, which is about Ted Kaczynski. Similar situation. Instead of being a truffle hunter, Ted Kaczynski is in the woods living a secluded life as a terrorist bomb maker. So a little different. I think I made the right decision on Pig, but I may watch Ted K as well. There's another movie that came out from the same studio as The Green Knight I think it's called After Yang, but it's a Showtime exclusive, and I don't have Showtime, but I want to watch that. Tells a story. And I heard about this on the video game podcast I listened to, but it was like, I had to look it up and I saw the trailer. I'm like, I need to see this. It's about a family that has like an Android, not a phone, but like a boy that lives with them. and he's like a friend of their daughter's, and he starts malfunctioning and he's dying, and they are trying to fix him, and I guess that's not easy to do. So I want to see that. Like, that's intriguing to me. I like these kind of movies that, like, I want a movie that when I'm done watching it, I'm not like, oh man, I'm so glad Thanos died. That's great. I want to be like, wow, that really made me think about some aspect of my life, or like why this blue Volvo station wagon is in the woods that I have to find. That's the kind of stuff that I want to get into. I want something that's going to be worth my time. So if you have any recommendations for me on what I should watch, I'm all ears. I'm wide open. I have lots of nights where we go to bed pretty early, and it's like my dad time where I'm just like, let me put something on my iPad. And instead of wasting time on YouTube, no offense, I find that I'm not accomplishing a whole lot. I'd rather get some type of thing completed. So if it's a masterclass or a movie or something like that, I want something to take away. Speaking of takeaways, the last thing I watched this week, and this is a high recommendation, the movie Val on Amazon Prime. It's about Val Kilmer, who you may remember from back in the day as Batman in Batman Forever. I liked him as the Saint, which he turned down the next Batman movie that George Clooney eventually starred in. Smart move, my friend. Great actor, really great guy. It turns out that Val, he's a YouTuber at heart because he spent his entire life with a camcorder in his hands documenting his life. And that would be interesting enough, but if you don't know Val's recent history, and this is really sad, and my takeaway from this, Val ended up having throat cancer. And he survived it, but he was left with like a tracheostomy in his throat, I think is what it's called, with like a tube going in. And for him to talk, he has to like plug this, because he can either breathe or talk. Like you can't do both, or eat and talk, or eat and breathe. We'll get these combinations together one way or another. And his voice is very like, it's awful. It's unrecognizable. And he had such a good voice from back in the day. Top Gun, you might remember from Top Gun. That's probably one of his most famous roles. He was also in, what else was he in? Shoot. He's in every movie. He had movies out for like every year up until like 2006, I think. But unfortunately, like, he's went through this, and this film kind of tells his life story. His son is reading Val's words that he wrote, because Val can't narrate it, of course. But you're seeing this archive footage of Val Kilmer, like, going through life on these movie sets, all these, the good things happen in life, bad things. And it's really amazing to like go on that journey with him. And obviously I'm biased because I'm a guy that likes documenting my life and my journey. And God, I can only wish that someday somebody wants to go back through my 20 years of footage or whatever or more and like pick out all these different parts that made up what was a really interesting life. I don't think I'm anywhere near like the level of interesting that Val Kilmer is, but it's definitely worth a watch if you have Amazon Prime. And I know so many of us do because the shipping. Some people, and myself included, often forget about the fact that there's also a free movie element to Amazon, and you could go watch a bunch of stuff for free. There's also Amazon Music. This video and podcast is not brought to you by Jeff Bezos and Amazon. I wish I had some of his money, but I don't, and it's not brought to you by that. But if you want to watch a really good movie, of the 3 movies that I recommended, that's probably the safest one for you to watch that you may like. And I'm not going to guarantee that, but it's a documentary more than anything. So I enjoyed that one quite a bit, and I'm thankful that Val Kilmer recorded so much in his life to share with us. There was one other movie that I watched on Amazon Prime a long time ago that really hit me the way that one did, and it was called Gleason. I'm going to leave that one completely to you. If you want to watch the movie called Gleason, it centers around an ex-football player that has Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS, and shows how devastating that can be when you're young in life and have so much to live for. And that's what I love about seeing things like this, is that like Val Kilmer, it's so sad to see him, like you'll see him from like 1990 Val Kilmer, and he's like fit and strong and healthy and, handsome and all these things, right? And then they cut to modern day, and it just shows you how fleeting life is. Like he was this guy, and now he's still that guy, but everything's different now. And he talks about like his star power, how it's not really there anymore, and like it really makes me feel like I really need to grab life by the cojones, and like take advantage of the time we have, because you just never know. You just never know. In fact, as much as I'm trying to get away from the TikToks and things like that, there's this girl that they keep putting in my feed that I watch every day. and she's dying of colon cancer. And every day I see her get on there and she like gives a little update, shows some things like people send her stuff. And, she has a large following. And I just wonder when's going to be the day that she just doesn't make a video anymore. And it makes me so sad to see her, because I went back like in the timeline and I saw her like 6 months ago, and it's like, oh my gosh, like she had more weight on her. She looked healthier. There was a time before she had like a breathing tube put in her nose. And it's just so sad to see someone going down like that. But she's offering so much positivity, inspiration to the world. And every time I see one of those videos, I'm like, whatever I'm going through, whatever trouble that I'm having, and maybe you feel the same way, nothing is as bad as dying of some type of cancer or having these life-threatening conditions and not knowing how much time you have left. And it just gives you so much appreciation. So sometimes, as depressing as that stuff is to like introduce into your viewing repertoire or whatever, sometimes it's good to be like, wow, like, okay, I spilled coffee on my shirt today on my way to work. At least I'm not dying. At least I still have life ahead of me. At least I still have opportunities. At least I can stand up. At least I can go for a walk outside. All of these things that we all take for granted, they slap you in the face when you watch these kind of videos, and that's why I appreciate them. If you want to watch one, watch Gleason. You are going to leave that with so much appreciation, and probably a lot of heartache too. But it's a true story, and it's a good one. It's a documentary. So, gosh, I'm getting all sad now. This isn't supposed to be a sad experience. This is about appreciation more than anything. Let me tell you about some things I'm interested in. A new segment. Whatnot auctions. Whatnot is a new app that my friend Dave referred me to, and all of my other Lego buddies. And it's really interesting because it's like a live eBay. It's like the seller puts something on, on the screen, on the phone, and it's for sale, and you have the opportunity to bid on it. And there's a button to bid, and you just bid on it. And if you win it, the shipping automatically gets added to it, and it's automatically paid. So you don't have to do all this stuff on like you do through eBay, where you have to go through and do all the purchasing and stuff. It's just paid. And if you buy something else, it just gets added to that order. And the shipping is only $1 for an additional item. So you can sit down and watch these like auctions on pretty much anything. It's like a bunch of collectibles, typically like action figures, video games, movies, Funko Pops. Lego was just added. And it's really fun to get on there and bid on stuff. And there's a chat that live chat that's going through. And I enjoy the heck out of it. I've been having fun. It's been a very expensive hobby, because I've been finding things that I like and enjoy. But it's so fun to it's like a live QVC / eBay thing, because you can sit down and be like, okay, I have this phone and I bought this new this year. It doesn't have really any scratches on it. It's got lots of battery in it, and I'm going to start the bidding at $1, and then people start bidding up. It's a good time. So I've been enjoying that. That's like the thing I'm interested in, news of the week. And then I have another little segment here that's, I guess, ideas of the week. And one of the ideas that I had this week was, and I think we're actually going to be starting this tomorrow, was that Clark and I should do a Hot Wheels hunting series. The last time we went out to go Hot Wheels hunting, which wasn't really the full purpose of the night, I was getting Gran Turismo 7, we got some Hot Wheels, we went out for dinner. The video did extremely well, because maybe it's because it was centered on Hot Wheels, and I know we have a lot of enthusiasts here, but I've been getting into it lately too. I told you that's my guilty pleasure, has been watching Hot Wheels videos on YouTube, and I thought, man, that'd be so fun for Clark and I to do a series where we go out Hot Wheels hunting, but with like some type of premise. Like, you can't just buy every Hot Wheels you see. It has to be like, we each pick out like our favorite one, like the coolest one, and then maybe we go out for lunch afterwards and or dinner or whatever, and we pop them open and show them off and stuff like that. But then like make that like a weekly thing where it's like our thing that we do together. I had this idea a long time ago for a series called Lunch with My Son, which was supposed to be us just going out for lunch together and talking about whatever's going on in our life. And I wanted this series to continue all the way up and through adulthood with Clark Man. And we could very much go back and look at all these, like what we were like, just like I was talking about earlier. The thing that I was missing from those streams was the most important thing. And that was seeing our experience and us together, not just hearing it, but like experiencing it and being there almost. Just like Val Kilmer when he was recording his life all these years. It's like you're teleported into that time. And I'm not making these videos for now, but I'm making them for the future. The Hot Wheels thing gives us direction. It gives us like a focus, like, oh, we could go Hot Wheels hunting. And they're so inexpensive that it's not like, if we went out Hot Wheels hunting every single week, it's not going to break the bank, right? And it's stuff that's fun. It's small. So if we are collecting them, I could collect 1,000 Hot Wheels in a shoebox. Probably not quite that many, but it'd be a fun challenge. And just make it a thing, make it our thing. And we could go out afterwards or do something else and record this. And I think a lot of kids and parents would love coming along with us on this experience, because maybe it's something they wish they could do. But to bring you along and to have that time together would be really fun to do. If I can do a good job filming it and editing it, I think it could be really special. It could be another playlist on our channel of things that I do with my boy, and good memories to look back on. Even though we have plenty of those things. We've got Lego, we've got RC stuff, which RC season is rapidly approaching. Once it gets a little bit warm out, geez, we got a couple tastes of like 60 to 70 degree days. And then they're like, no, that was enough for you guys. It's now 40 degrees out again. I was wearing a t-shirt earlier. I put this sweatshirt on because it's so cold everywhere. Turned the heat off in here. I'm like, I'm done with you. I thought so. But that was a cool idea that I had. Another idea, you guys let me know about my ideas if they're good or bad, because that way I don't waste my time on them if you think they suck. My other idea was related to gaming. You know, there's a lot of people that do gaming channels, and I do live streams of my gameplay, and sometimes do highlight videos. But I thought, you know, my real talent or skill in YouTube is creating stories, speaking specifically, and which is surprising because this should never have been me. I'm very awkward on camera, very uncomfortable, but somehow through sheer willpower and I guess just doing it over and over again, I've gotten competent in it. And I say competent, you know, very lightly, because I'm right on the scale of being competent. Not confident, but competent. I thought, why don't I take the gaming channel in that direction too, where I sit down at the beginning of the video, tell a story about something that I'm trying to accomplish in a video game. For example, Donkey Kong. I could sit down and talk about how, you know, this is one of my first times playing Donkey Kong, and I'm not very experienced in it, but one thing that I've been trying to do is to get past level 3. I can't figure out what I need to do to get up to Donkey Kong. I've tried different things, whether it be going to Donkey Kong or going to Princess Peach or whoever the girl is, but I can't figure out how to beat it. And then show a clip of me, I'll be like, well, this is the moment when I did that. Enjoy. And then it shows that. So it creates almost like a narrative for something that would just be like a video. And it gives this channel, this gaming channel, like a personality that I've yet to see on any gaming channel, where it's like people living that moment or beating a game or whatever. It's just an idea that I had. I might run a pilot episode. It had to be the right game, and it had to be the right scenario for that to happen. But it's in the cards. I feel like it's worth a shot. Having a lot of fun gaming, by the way. You guys probably know that it's become a thing. And I mentioned in last week's episode, if you missed it, that I definitely see gaming as something that, as far as Clark's future and my future, I could see it becoming more and more of a thing. So I'm building that road before I get there, because I think there's a lot of 10, 12, 14-year-old boys that's like their obsession or passion, and I want to be there with them. And I'm preparing for it. Plus, there's going to be a day where, I don't know if I'm going to be sharing my life the way that I do now. Once Clark kind of grows up, I don't think anyone's going to want to see 50-year-old Greg, doing his regular life thing. Unless my life's very interesting, which I have the power to make it that way. So maybe, my stuff will become more, focused. Oh, here's what I'm working on in the world of Lego. This is my gaming thing. I like having a little bit of direction, but I also like having a lot of freedom too. And as you've seen this year, and that's, I think, maybe my final thought on this particular episode, this whole entire year for me has been one of experimentation. It's been almost like a midlife crisis of sorts. And now that Clark has gone to school, where it's okay, we're not doing the remote learning kindergarten anymore. We're not spending our days together anymore. I've got all this time and freedom now to make what I want. What do I want to make? And sometimes you think that you want to do something a certain way, ideally, but then you start doing, you're like, well, no, that's not it. That's not quite right. And it's nice to have that freedom to, turn that dial and be like, okay, that didn't work, but let's try this. That didn't work. Let's try this. Oh, this is perfect. This is just right. And I'm finding that, like, I thought about making my Brickatech channel, my Lego channel, a series of shows. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. But then I was like, no, that's not what this channel is. This is about me waking up in the morning with an idea in my head and then making that thing a reality, which is what I talked about with you here. Turning something like that into this tangible thing every single day, whatever my heart tells me to do, not making something because it's like, well, it's Tuesday, so I got to make this thing. It's make the thing that you really feel passionate about. Passion carries everything. And that's where I'm finding my love for that at. Live streaming thing, I've been back and forth. Do I do it? Do I not do it? Where do I do it at? And then I found this spot, this sweet spot. And I'm very happy there right now. Will it always be that way? I don't know. But for now, I love it. I'm finding things with collections, with how I'm spending my time. And like, I think that an important thing to remember is that all of this isn't permanent. It's all up in the air. Just like Val Kilmer taught me and the movie Gleason taught me, is like nothing's permanent. Everything is just a flash. And you got to ride that wave as long as you can and try to get on the wave that you want to be on. And that's what my journey is. So I appreciate you all tuning in to be on that journey with me. If you listened all the way into this, 40 minutes in or whatever we're at, that's very impressive. And I applaud you for that. I appreciate that. I don't know who you are, where you're from, how old you are, anything about you, but you know almost everything about me. And I find that very interesting. And I for some reason, I find it very comfortable to sit here and tell you about what's going on with me. And I appreciate you tuning in and being my free therapist. If there's anything that you would like to comment on for this episode, or any feedback that you have for me, anything that I could do better or that I'm doing terribly, keep that to yourself. No, I'm kidding. Or anything that I talked about here that you have some type of insight on, I'd love to hear from you. I'll try to reply to everybody on this that leaves a comment here. I'll reply to you. I don't know if it'll actually be in the episode, but I will get back to you on that. So thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Greg's World podcast, formerly Missing Pieces podcast. I appreciated you being here, and I hope to see you next week for the next episode, which will be right here on Greg's World. We'll see you guys then.